I'll now show you a collection of the most basic editing commands. When I say editing commands, I'm talking about commands that will actually allow you to modify the document. I'll begin with commands that take you into insert mode. There's a variety of commands that take you into insert mode, so what you do when you get there, obviously, is that you type in some text. And when you finish typing in your text, you press escape and you return to command mode. Don't forget to return to command mode. Don't forget to press escape. You've really got to get into the habit of pressing escape every time you finish one of these commands. Don't forget, make it as common as breathing for you. Type a bit of text in, press escape. Make another command, type a bit more text in, press escape. Anyway, let's have a look at them. Probably the simplest ones are A and I, which append, or if you like, insert. I is for insert and A is for append. Text after or before the current cursor. A for after, I for before. Let's have a look at that. Here I am sitting in my document. Maybe I would like to add the word long to this document, and I'd like to add it right here. So here reach the top of the long road. Now the cursor is flashing on the space between the word the and the word road, so if I type in A, just the letter A, I'm now in insert mode. The cursor has moved ahead to the next spot, which is the spot where I'm going to be now typing. L-O-N-G space. And of course I press escape. So that's an example of now type in something using I for insert. Insert before the current cursor. So here on the word smiled, I will type in the letter I, followed by A-double-L space. They all smiled at one another. There's very little difference between those two commands. The only difference is, do you insert text before the current cursor or append text after the current cursor? Anyway, let's move on. Similarly, we have got capital A and capital I, which are very useful, surprisingly useful additions to the VI language. Append text to the end of the line or insert text at the beginning of the line. They obviously correspond to the lowercase. Let's have a look at those. So I'll now insert text at the beginning of this line. And now notice that I don't actually have to go to the beginning of the line to insert the text there. I can just type in capital I. Type in capital I now. Notice the cursor's now at the beginning of the line and I'm in insert mode. And I'll type in the word then, space, and press escape. And that inserted at the beginning of the line. Notice with all of these commands, A's and I's and capital A's and so on, I'm only showing you examples of where I type in one word. But I could type in many words. I could type in many lines. Let me show you that. I'll now just type in a simple A, and then I'll type in a bit of text, blah 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 blah, press enter, type in a bit more text, press enter, type in a bit more text, press enter, type in a bit more text, press enter, and then press escape. So I managed to append several lines of text at that particular insertion point. Moving right along, we've got O, which is open a new line or create a new line, a new empty blank line after or before the current line. Let's have a look at that. Capital O is before and lowercase o is after. So if I'm on this particular line of garbage, I can type in the letter O and a new line, a new empty line, opens up underneath that line. And you can see that I'm in insert mode, so I start typing, and when I can even add a few more lines and press escape when I'm done. The O command clearly saves you the trouble of typing in capital A to jump to the end of the current line and then pressing a carriage return to create a new line. So it's a very useful and handy shortcut. Capital O will obviously create a new line above the line that I'm currently on. Again, moving right along, now we have S. Substitute the current character with text. You can prefix that with a number. If you said 5S, it would substitute the 5 current characters with text. And what text? Well, whatever text you type. You can type one letter, you can type 100 letters, you can type 20 lines of text, it doesn't matter. you do not have to replace the current character with the same number of characters. Let's have a quick look. So I've got the cursor resting on a full stop. Hope you can see it. Now I'll type in S, just the letter S by itself, and the full stop has disappeared, and I'm in insert mode, which means I can now start typing. Now I might put in a comma, in a great cloud of smoke. Full stop. Escape. So I replaced, if you like, one full stop with a great deal of text. I could do the same thing with this word great here. There's 5 letters in the word great, so I could type 5S, and the entire word great, all those 5 letters disappear, and now I can type in huge grey, if I can spell grey properly, grey clouds, etc. Press escape because I'm in insert mode, and then I'm back in command mode. So that's the S command, substitute. And finally we have the C command, which is the change. It's very similar to substitute, but it doesn't work on letters or characters. With S you're substituting 1 character or 10 characters. With C you're substituting several things. In this case, with CW, you're substituting words. You can also prefix that with a number. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Hopefully this will make sense with an example. I could simply use the word crack here, and I could do CW, which will change the word, so I don't have to know how many characters are in the word, or it'll just change the entire word. CW, the word crack disappears, I'm in insert mode. Every ravine, maybe. Alternatively, I could say, okay, we sat down. I could say, right, 2CW, and both the words sat down disappear. We rested, perhaps. Press escape. So notice that I did 1 change word, or CW changed 1 word, 2CW changed 2 words. I could type in, if I wanted to, 50CW, which would change 50 words if I happened to know that I wanted to change 50 words. But like I was trying to describe, you can actually use C in conjunction with lots of different things. Remember the $sign. If you type in, what does it do? Well, if you recall, it just takes you to the end of the line. It's a movement command, but you can actually use the $sign in conjunction with C. You can type in $. Can you imagine what that would do? Well, what it actually does is it changes all the text from the current point in the line to the end of the line. End of the line because $sign. So I'll do that now. C$, and everything on the line disappears, and I can just type in whatever I like. Alternatively, remember the F command? I'm getting really complex on you now. F. Remember that will find a given character on the line, like you could find a comma sign, or you could find a T, or find an N. You can use that in conjunction with the C command. If you typed CF, comma, can you imagine what that would do? Well, it would change all of the text up until the current point where the cursor is. So, if the cursor is where it is now on the word whom, if I type in CF, comma, everything up to and including the comma disappears, and then I can type in some text instead. Perhaps just the word then, and escape. The C command is very flexible. You can use it to change a word, you can change up to the end of the line, you can change up to a given character, and a few other combinations that I won't go into. Moving right along, I'll show you now some commands that don't take you into insert mode, just simple commands that remain in command mode even when they're done. Like, for example, X. You just type in X by itself, and it deletes the current character. Specifically, it deletes the character under the cursor. If you use capital X, it deletes the character before the cursor. You should also note that it's not a true delete, it's actually a cut, as in cut and paste, which means that the character that you delete goes into the clipboard, if you can think of there being a clipboard. The clipboard, you have to understand, is a VI construct, it's not a Unix construct, construct or a shell construct. So once you quit out of vi, anything that you cut cannot be pasted into another program. Anyway, let's have a look at X. Doesn't matter what character you're sitting on, you can just press X, 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 and characters disappear one by one. Now you could, say, type in 10X, 10X, and 10 characters disappear, all in one go. If you press X 10 times, only the very last instance of the X that you pressed, the character that you deleted, the last character, will be put into the clipboard. If you press 10X, then all 10 characters will be put into the clipboard. Moving along, DD means delete the current line. Again, that's actually not really deleted, it's cut into the clipboard. I'll show that to you now. I can type in DD, the line disappears, DD, or I could type in the number 4 followed by DD, and 4 lines will disappear. Watch this, 4 lines gone. It should be noted that D is very similar to C. Remember the C from the previous section, where you could do a CW to change a word, or you could do $C to change to the end of the line, or you could do CF something to change all the way up to that particular something. Well, D is almost exactly the same. You can do a DW. I'll do a DW now, DW, and one word disappears. DW, DW, DW. Or I can go to a particular point in the line and do $, which deletes up to the end of the line. Or I could do DF full stop to delete everything up to the full stop. I'll do that now, DF full stop, and everything goes up to and including the full stop. The only difference between C and D in this regard is that D simply deletes the text, whereas C deletes the text but leaves you in insert mode to give you the opportunity to replace that with new text. So anything you can do with C you can also do with D. It's just simpler. Next, and very importantly, we have P for put, which actually is paste. If you like to think of X and DD as cut options, you can paste that back out again, or always paste the most recently deleted thing. Let's have a look. So I can delete this line here by doing a DD, and then I can scroll down a bit and find somewhere to put it. I might just like to put it after this line that I'm currently on now, and I'll just type in P, and there it is. And I can P again, P, or if you like I could P 6 times, 6P, and then I get 6 copies of that thing that was deleted. Now if we've got a cut and a paste, theoretically we've also got a copy and paste, and we do, but we don't call it copy. We don't use the C letter for that because we've already used C for something else, so we use Y. Interestingly, we call that yank. We're yanking some text. DD, you can yank the current line, or you can yank a word, or you can yank up to the end of a line, or you can yank up to a given character, just like DD. And then that information is copied into the clipboard and then can be pasted. Let's have a look. I will yank this line, YY, and then I will do a paste right here, P for paste. And as you can see, that's copied the line rather than deleted it from the original place. Moving on, we have got the R command. Now that works as follows. You type in R, and the immediate character that you've typed R on is replaced with whatever you type next. This is very useful for spelling mistakes. I'll show you an example. Where the cursor is at the moment in the middle of the screen is obviously a spelling mistake. That should be W-I-T-H, so I type in the letter R. Nothing appears to happen on the screen, but the next letter I type in is the letter that I want to correct it with, which is I, and it's simply replaced. Now interestingly, if I prefix that with a number such as 5, then 5 characters are replaced with 5 I's. Let's do that down here. I'll do 5RI, and I get 5 I's replacing 5 characters. So that's a fairly good synopsis of editing commands, both ones that take you into insert mode and ones that don't take you into insert mode. There are actually some very special commands. There's a couple of them that I'd like to show you just now before we finish this chapter. They make Vi incredibly powerful. Just the simple addition of 1 or 2 commands make Vi one of the most powerful editors there is. Let's have a look at them now. Obviously one of them is undo. Whatever the last command was that you did, undo it. Now sadly you can only undo the last one thing. There's not multiple levels of undo. So if you undo something and it reverts back to its previous state, typing undo again, typing the letter U again, undoes the undo. So it puts it back in again, if you like. Let me show you. Okay, a little quiz for you. If I typed in DF greater than sign being the character greater than, what do you think would happen if I did that right here? Well, D is for delete, F is for find the next character, and the greater than sign is obviously the greater than sign. So it would delete up to the next greater than sign. So I can try that. D, F, greater than sign, and all of that stuff just disappears. Now what if I type U for undo? Let's see. U for undo, and it goes back in. If I type U again, okay, well, Vim, which is what I'm using at the moment, has just made a liar out of me. I was not aware that Vim has multiple levels of undo. But now I do know that, so I guess you know it as well. This version of Vi that I'm using, which is called VIM, or Improved Vi, seems to have multiple levels of undo, but the Vi that you would be used to using, unless it's VIM, would not do that. Pressing U for undo would simply delete the text again. And you could keep pressing U, and it would go in and out and in and out and back and forth and back and forth. Oh well, you learn something every day. Closely related to the U command is the capital U command, which is a sort of a primitive version of multiple levels of undo. It will restore the current line to how it was when you arrived on it. So you can make several changes to a line, and then if you don't leave the line, if you're still on that same line, you can use capital U to undo all of those changes and put the line back to how it was when you arrived. Let me show you. So there's a line there with 3 words on it. I'm going to go down to it, okay, and I'm going to make some changes to it. I'm going to do 3X, which deletes 3 characters. I'm going to do a CW, which changes the rest of that word to DOG, and I'm going to insert some text here. This is new text. So I've made several changes on this line, and now I will use capital U to undo all of them. And there they are. They just came back again. I believe that is how the line was before I started mucking around with it. Finally, probably the most powerful command of all in my opinion, relating to Vi, is dot. Just a full stop command, which just means repeat the last command. It actually means repeat the last edit, repeat the last change that you made. It doesn't repeat movement, if it's only movement and nothing else. I'll give you an example of that. Let's say I've got all these P class equal, an example of that on the bottom of the page there. Now, what if I wanted to change that so that it was no longer class equals writing, that it was just P by itself, but I wanted to do it for a great deal of the paragraphs in this document, but not all of them. In other words, I wanted to selectively make some changes. Well, the first thing I might do is do a little search for them. So I might search for P class equals WRI or something like that. Well, that flashed up an error message to me, which I think was something to do with the fact that I used double quotes in my search string, which do tend to mess it up a bit. So I'll try that again. I'll now search for P class, just class equals by itself. And there is one. Now I'll perform a particular command on this. What I'll do is I'll type in CF greater than sign to change all the text from the current cursor point all the way up to the greater than sign, in other words, all the coloured text. What will I change it to? Well, I'll just change it to bracket P close bracket. Let's try that. So it's CF greater than sign. Okay, it all goes away. Now I replace that with bracket P close bracket and press escape. Okay, so what I've done is I've found one of the things that I want to change, and I've performed the change on it. Now there's probably a great deal of those things scattered throughout the file. Maybe there's 50 of them, and maybe I want to change half of them, but I want to selectively decide which ones I change and which ones I don't. So can you remember the command, the keystroke that I have to type in to find the next pattern that I'm looking for? Well, it's N. N for Nelly, N for next, and so I found the next one. So do I want to perform that operation, that same operation again, whatever it was, whatever I changed before, do I want to perform that same change again, yes or no? And if I say yes, then I type in a dot. Dot means repeat the last change. So for this one, I will say yes, I do. So I type in dot, and it changes. Then I go N, dot, N, dot, N, dot, N, dot, and N. Now I may not want to change that one, so I won't type in the dot this time. I'll just do another N. So I can just type in N's and N's and N's until I find one that I want to change, at which point I type in dot. So N, dot, N, dot, N, dot, N, 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 dot, and so on. Anyway, I just wanted to show you an example of how you might repeat a command, or why you might want to repeat a command. And if you want to, and it is a thing that especially programmers tend to find themselves doing over and over again, then you just simply use the dot command. The next module is what we call advanced editing, which is just a series of useful but miscellaneous commands that don't seem to fit anywhere else.